Thanks for tuning in to the Tom Auto channel. Today we're working on a 2001 Ford F-250 with the 7.3 diesel. And today we're resealing the pedestal and the turbo. But before we do anything, first things first, follow me. As you can see how we do it here, get your truck up in the air, get the wheels off, and get this thing lowered down to the ground. Put it on some 2x4s. Now if your lower ball joints have fittings, put some relief holes in them and get it on the ground. Get your fender cover on as we have, and get your dog bed all set up. It might even be your bed because you're gonna need it. You're gonna be on your belly and you might as well be comfortable. Hey guys, just wanted to show you why we have the turbo apart and we're going to do a reseal. Is that we found oil in the downpipe and that's not supposed to be there. And when we inspected the uppipe, it's dry as can be. Now had there been oil in the uppipe collector there, we would start looking at the engine for any problems. But where it's dry, we're pulling that turbo apart and we're going to reseal it. Let's go over a couple things before we actually start doing the repair. On the pedestal, we are going to be putting in a new actuator. Ford still offers that. It's for the back pressure valve and it's for quicker warm-ups where it's cold at. Where we're in Idaho, we do have some cool mornings. Here's that part number is 2C3Z9P466A. Works real well. We did one a couple weeks ago. Guy loves it. Here's the old one. As you can see, we've got oil on this side here, getting past the seal. Well, can't have that. That's one of our oil leaks. Also, we got the turbo apart. We'll show you why we've got it apart. We found some oil in the downpipe but not in the uppipe. So it leads us to believe that we had oil leaking around the shaft and these sealing rings that go inside of here. We'll show you all that as we put this together. Some of the tools that we're going to use is this recalibrated fish scale to 10 pounds. We've got a 10 thousandths feeler gauge. We'll be adjusting our back pressure valve to open up at 10 pounds, and this right here should fall when we hit that. We also have a gauge, a pressure gauge for adjusting the wastegate. This one's done under pressure. We're going to set it up to where it just starts to crack and open at 20 to 25. We use an old R12 manifold set. We put a regulator in, we can set it, we got a gauge, and we'll show you how that's done. Now here's some of the parts that we have. We've got this new actuator, we've got a reseal kit, and we've got this turbo wheel. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Now we get our parts from Gillett Diesel down in Bluffington, I think it's Bluffdale, Utah. The guys are really great down there. You got Tristan in the parts, you got Ryan in the pump shop, and you got Luke in the turbo shop. Guys have been very helpful. Go ahead and check them out. I'll try to leave a link down below. And let's get started. Well, we'll start out with our Rotella. This is what we use in our diesels. We're gonna put some of this in a jar. We're gonna use that for assembly lube. First thing we're gonna do is get our actuator in place. I like to just kind of dip it. Now before I do that, this pedestal has been cleaned. It's been Scotch-Brite in the bore. There's no nicks. It's really set up now for the new piston to really seal in here. First thing you want to do is just put it right through. It's got a hole out the other side, and we're just going to push it in. Now what I like to do is put the lock nut on this other side. This way it can't come back out. And I have something to grip. Okay, we've got the actuator, no big deal. So as you can see, we got a new ring. They do give you a new cap with this. Nice aluminum plug, O-ring. Go ahead and dip it in the oil. Let's go ahead and put it on here. It's not rolled, it's nice and square. Put a little bit more oil. And sometimes this can be a little tricky. You got to square it up. You got to get it past that snap ring groove. And we're just going to do some light taps on here. Sounded like it was hitting harder than it was, but a few light taps. We got it past the snap ring groove. So let's go ahead and install our new snap ring. Sometimes these have a rounded edge and then a flat edge. You always want the flat edge against the pressure side. So let's go ahead and get our rings kind of in that groove. And there we go. That can be sometimes a struggle, but it's in there and that part of it's done. At this time, this does give you a new arm and it does give you a new clip. Now we're going to show you a little trick on this and when we put it all together. But go ahead, let's get it screwed on. We'll be doing some adjustments later. On the front here, it's also been cleaned. On the solenoid here, I've looked at from Ford, you can no longer get this solenoid and or the ring. To get this, you got to buy that pedestal. And I'll tell you guys, go to Diesel O-Ring on the web and they can get you a solenoid and the rings for your project here. But that snapped in just fine. Let's go ahead and get our bracket. It goes right on top here with our bolt. Now I kind of like when I'm working with aluminum, just put a little bit of on the threads. Now we're going to use our DeWalt. This variable speed, that's it, right there. Torque to factory spec. And that's all pretty much it is for the pedestal. Now we'll come back to this when we're getting ready to put our turbo on. We'll mount it. We won't be putting the O-rings in right now, but we'll mount the turbo up here and we'll set our gauge using our calibrated fish scale. Okay, so let's get going on the turbo. First thing you want to do is get everything cleaned and inspected. Here's our shaft. This thing has been looked at. Where this groove is, this is where this large ring's gonna go. And also, that ring has also got a seal on this journal right in here. Make sure there's absolutely no ring grooves where it's cut in. It's got to be really, really smooth. It's kind of like some of the transmission shafts that when we use the rings, we got to make sure the bushings are good, that the rings haven't cut a groove so that they wouldn't seal. It's the same principle here, just a lot smaller parts. So let's get started. Go ahead and lube our shaft here with our motor oil that we use in the vehicle. We got our ring here. We're just going to slide that over. We're only going to spread it far enough so it'll go into the groove. Push it right into the groove, just like that. It'll snap in. And when it goes into the centerpiece here, it's going to close that gap like that. Also, talking to Ryan down at the, or not Ryan, but Luke at the turbo shop, be sure these gaps are pointing in the up position. It was just a thing that he told me what to look out for as we're doing this. My first one, but we're seeing a lot of this. And if the turbo was working fine, we just started seeing the oil. Somebody's going to take it apart. It might as well be me. And the same thing here. We just slide our little ring, get it into the groove. So we're set. These bushings they're non-directional. They'll go anyway. Just dip them in. Let's grab our spacer and grab our other bushing. And there you go. All lubed up, and she's ready. At that point, go ahead and grab our center section. Feed it through. Now, your ring's going into a tapered deal that's going up like a ramp, and you're just going to push it up. Time out, time out, time out. Let's put our cap in first. I know you guys were screaming, hold it, hold it. And just like that. Now that cap's going to be retained by the housing itself. So anyway, all right. Well, there's part of it. So we also got this housing. This is where this ring that we put on this looks like a thrust bearing. It's got a bunch of holes. It's got to fit in here. We'll show you a picture. It's also got a ramp. It's going to close that gap and make a nice tight seal. But we want to make sure where that ring rides that it's not grooved out to where we just, the shaft wobbles. So I think what we can do here, we'll just try to fit it. It goes in there just like that. But we do have this plate here. I know just from directions it can only go in one way. It can't go this way. I've tried it just so that you know. So goes in here just like that. Now those two pieces are going to have to be put in together. Let me show you how we do that. Being a transmission guy, got a bunch of this assembly lube. Really works well. At high heat, at any heat really, it's gonna just melt. But this goes in here like this. Now I know I've seen some deals on the internet that this is a full circle. This is our first one. Luke sent us this. We're gonna give it a shot. We trust his judgment down there. And let's put it together. Just like that. What's nice about this kit here is, we've got all the new O-rings, all the good stuff. Always like to. We want these gaskets to stay in place. They got little ribs on them. Probably don't really need the assembly lube because of the little tab. It'll hold it in place. Okay, we've got our exhaust wheel put in our center support, you might call it. Let's bring our snail over and let's get this mounted. We've got to put this into our exhaust snail first before we can mount our aluminum housing, because we got two bolts here that the aluminum housing piece is going to cover up. So let's get that done. This can only go in one way also. And use our little extension here. Let's go ahead. That's a 12-point socket. And you're gonna have to bring this down. It's a tight fit. Bring it down evenly. A couple turns here and there, and go in a star pattern. And you'll know that wheel starts spinning nice and free. Alrighty, let's get our torque wrench. We got 12 times. That's beautifully. That thing spins really, really nice. Let's take a look at this side. That's our wastegate. We'll be dealing with that later. All right. This can only go on one way because of the bolt pattern. Nice and smooth. That's really nice. Let's go ahead and torque them. Well, I guess at this time what we need to do, let's put on our wheel that we got from Gillett Diesel. This is what we call a 7x7 wheel. When we took this one, the original, it has 9 fins. Well, when I counted the first time around, I only counted 7. But if we go around the perimeter, there's 7 here and 7 to the outside. So that's what they call a 7x7, machined out of Gillett. The purpose for this is it's not really a high performance, but apparently these engines build up a lot of boost, and it can only take in so much according to the what the engine can pull in, and so we get a reverberate, and we get like a surge. So this eliminates that. We're going to give it a try and see what the results. But we're so thankful for the guys down there at Gillett Diesel to be helping us out. That's just right-handed threads. It's probably spinning down there. Sure is. Now we'll need a big pair of channel locks on this to hold that rear. We've got our big pair of channel locks on the back of that shaft. We'll need a screwdriver as a pry bar. On this wheel, it's a 13 millimeter. We just want to turn this till it gets snug. Okay. And then probably maybe a quarter turn from there. And the reason for the channel locks in the back is, if you look, it's probably they grind it for weight purposes. There's just nothing that you can get a socket or anything on a stock system that we have. So we had to use the vice grips. It worked fine for taking it apart and installing. Okay, we got our new wheel. Now as we spin this, it's smooth, it's not rubbing anywhere, and we do got a little bit of, we want a little bit of in play. Exactly what we have. So we're going to go ahead and finish off putting on the snail. We'll get a new O-ring around here. We'll get it mounted on the pedestal, and then we'll start doing our adjustments for the exhaust back pressure valve and the wastegate. Okay, let's get the intake side of this, the cold side you might call it. Get our O-ring in place. Got a little oil on it for lubrication. Looks a little big. What's going on here, guys? That's why you keep the old parts. I think what I'm going to do, since it's winter time, that seal looks a little bit too big. Let's go put it out in the cold for a minute. Okay, we let our O-ring sit outside for about 10 minutes. 30 degrees outside. It's winter time, so we got snow, ice, you name it. Let's get it wrapped in there. Oh, that's a lot better. Lubricated. Let's get our snail put in. This will also only go in one way. The tabs here. Okay. Let's get our bolts. One drop of Loctite on these. We had good luck pulling them out, so none of the heads were stripped. So again, you got 5 bolts. This has got to go past the O-ring. I don't like using until I get everything started, using any kind of air tool, electric tool. So let's just go around. Everything by hand. Feel a little bit of slight resistance. Go ahead and go to the next and go around like you were doing a tire on a car, torquing it. They're all snug down. Get that last one. Double check. Make sure our fin spins. Smooth. Operator. Okay, let's go ahead and torque them. I got it set for 12 pounds. That's one turbo. We've put new bushings, we put new thrust bearing, new sealing rings. All our surfaces were good. The new wheel. Everything spins real free. I like it. So what we get to do now is we get to set all our adjustments, our new wastegate and our back pressure valve adjustment also. Okay guys, this is our setup here. This is our pressure gauge we made the other day, which is regulated. Give you an idea of what we got here. It's just an old R12 manifold AC gauge converted. We got our shop air going into a regulator. We got it coming out. Got it going to our new wastegate actuator. Something I want to show you, I found out. You guys know how small that clip is that holds that actuator. You know, it's right here. You know, look how small that is. Now, we're going to be doing some adjustment. I don't want to be popping that off and on all the time and take a chance on losing it. So what I found, just took that back pressure lever snap ring clip looking thing, and it fits in there. Now, it comes off and on, so I can make my adjustment. So keep that in mind. That was pretty cool. So anyway, this is what we're doing. We want to be able to watch this wastegate. You know, right now it won't turn. We want to set this thing. We're going to set it at 20. And what we want to see is that this disc down here, the wastegate, just starts to lift at 20 pounds. So let's see if we can see where we're at. Got this down. We got it open. Let's bring it up. Okay. Of course, we're going to keep an eye on this thing. As soon as we hit 20, we should start seeing our arm move. Getting close. There she goes, right there. Let's take a look at our wastegate. Okay. She is now just starting to, let's see where we're at. Right under 20. Bring her up a little bit. And there she goes. She spins, so we know she's off the seat. And when we got that, our reading was right at 20. So that's how you do that, guys. We're set to go on that part. We'll assemble the backside here, and we'll do our our exhaust back pressure valve. So stay with us. Okay guys, this is where we set up our exhaust back pressure valve tension through the actuator, which is adjusted. Here's some of the things we'll be using. Here's my calibrated fish scale. When that line goes in between the two, that feeler gauge, this is what we're using, 10 thousandths, and that mark is calibrated to 10 pounds. So once that mark hits that feeler gauge falls, we know where adjustments are right. So where that feeler gauge is gonna go is right in here. There's a stop. This is where that stop on the cast on the turbo. What we're gonna do, we'll insert our feeler gauge. And the object of that is when I hit 10 pounds on my fish scale, that's gonna drop. I'll just kind of do a demonstration here. Just like that. Now let's show you what it looks like, because there may be some adjustments we need to do. And we're gonna let this just kind of hang over so it drops straight down. We'll get our feeler gauge inserted. Bring this over. Let's see what happens. And when that lines up, that feeler gauge should go. Look at that, right on. You want to do that a couple times. Be sure your reading's accurate. So let's put our thing back in, our feeler gauge. That's right on. There's no adjustments needed. So anyway, we'll leave it there. We'll go ahead and drop out our lockdown, our lock nut, and our adjustment's ready. Hey guys, just a quick update on that 2001 Ford F-250 where we overhauled the turbo and put some upgraded parts in it, like the stronger spring actuator for the wastegate. Also the 7x7 billet wheel for the compressor side. One thing I didn't know, that this truck had an exhaust brake, and they were utilizing the exhaust back pressure valve from the factory. And I gotta say, that thing worked beautiful. I took a ride with the customer. He was happy. I'm happy. Mama's happy. We just want to again thank Gillett Diesel down in Bluffdale, Utah for supplying our parts and our needs for this project that we did. Before we overhauled the turbo, we went and looked at Living on Wheels and also Western Truck and Tractor for, you know, how they were doing it. And guys, go visit their website. You know, great guys. So anyway, I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you on the next video. See ya.